got an opportunity to spend some time with former NBC News anchor, managing editor of the NBC Nightly News, a guy who's won, I guess, every major award given in broadcast journalism, best-selling books, special correspondent for NBC, and it was an honor to be sharing part of the stage with Tom Brokaw. His documentary, Their Finest Hour, aired on Saturday during the Olympic coverage on NBC, and Tom, kind enough to join us. Tom, welcome to the program, and what memory do you take away from the London Games?
Well, I just think it was the glow that got brighter with every day. You know, we didn't quite know what to expect. I think going into London, there were all those usual questions you get about: are they ready? Will there be terrorism? We had a pretty good idea about how our team would do, but I think what gave it a special lift was that the Great Britain team did so well, and that brought a sense of energy to the Olympic Park. And because the relationship between our two countries is so strong, it lifted everybody here as well, based on everything that I could tell. So I think that it was all pretty magical from the opening ceremony all the way through to the end. I didn't get to as many of the venues as I'd like to, but I caught the right ones. I think I was in the stadium the night that Bolt bolted through the 100 meters. I saw Michael Phelps win his first gold medal in Athens, and I had gotten to know his family well, so I went over to the swimming venue to be there for his last gold medal and spent time with his mother, Debbie, and his sisters. So that was a kind of closing of the circle for me. I've been an athletic junkie all my life. I was a mediocre high school jock, but I followed everything very carefully, and it's just such a treat to be at the Olympics and see all those great athletes. I, in fact, called my high school track coach to tell him that I was going to be doing a profile of Roger Bannister late one night, and he said to me he'd been watching everything. He was a great developer of middle-distance and long-distance runners out in South Dakota, and he said, "Too much beach volleyball,
Tom." We were looking for
back to track and field.
How do you explain the Americans' obsession with royalty, the Beatles, Harry Potter, other things British?
Well, I did an essay on that, and it's always been kind of amusing to me. It is the mother country for America, after all. Our early settlers, most of them came from there, rejected the idea of royalty, but we embrace it as enthusiastically as the British do themselves. And it's not entirely an equal distribution of admiration. I had Tracy Ullman on and Kathy Kay from the BBC to talk about that. We are besotted by royalty. Obviously, their rock and roll royalty has been a big hit here. But not only that, they're comedians. Ricky Gervais and Tracy Ullman, and one of the big hits on Broadway right now is One Man, Two Governors, for example. We gave Oscars to Shakespeare in Love and The King's Speech. I just think that the bonds are extraordinarily strong in a cultural sense, and probably will be for a long time.
We love to put things in perspective, in context. We love to compare and contrast. If I said Usain Bolt reminds you of who would you pick?
I think he's pretty unique. As an athlete and watching him run, I can't remember anybody quite like that. I actually am so old that I used to see Bob Hayes run at the Drake Relays and at the NAAI. And by the way, I have a little sports trivia quiz for you.
Okay.
Who beat Bob Hayes? It came from a famous family name.
Beat him in
the 100. In the 100, at the peak of Hayes' career.
Wow.
I think it was at the NAIA in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. It was Gale Sayers' brother.
Wow.
Roger Sayers was a great sprinter. He went to the University of Omaha, played football there, and I've often introduced Gale by saying he's the second fastest member of his family.
By the way, you're not supposed to embarrass the host, Tom, with questions that I don't know the answer to. I was thinking Bolt as a showman, not just performance, but showman. There's some Ali in there. I don't know if
I think that's right. And everybody out in the Olympic Park was doing the Bolt. Even the policemen were. They were imitating it. But I think the story really, when you get right down to it, I do a lot of fishing down in the Caribbean. I'm in the Bahamas a lot and through that whole area. You look at what happened. I mean, the Bahamian relay team, Bolt, and the other members of the Jamaican sprinting team, a gold medalist from Grenada. That's a really small population pool when you put it up against Australia, for example, which didn't do so well in these Olympics, or against any of the others. I mean, these are the sprinters of record in world-class competition now. I have a favorite fishing guy down in the southern part of the Bahamas. He has a daughter who's a triple jumper, and he started telling me about her when she was in high school, and I thought, well, as a proud dad, but she's on a track scholarship at LSU right now. We'll probably hear from her at some point.
Michael Phelps, his place in history. Do you just make it Olympic history, or can you go outside of that to say I can put him in there with Jackie Robinson, with Michael Jordan, Tiger Woods? How big is that Phelps shadow?
I think in the sport of swimming, that record probably will be unequaled for a long time. I just can't imagine anybody winning 18 golds swimming in 4 Olympics, because as a teenager he began in Sydney. And he's perfectly built for it. I've spent a lot of time with him. No one has, no matter how often we describe it, no one has a full appreciation of the training regimen that Michael goes through. I mean, he's in the water 7 days a week, 8-9 hours a day when he's getting ready for these Olympics. And he comes back from road trips, appearances of some kind, calls his coach, says, I'll meet you at the pool. This is an exceptional athlete, and it's hard to imagine somebody exceeding what he did. We used to say that about Mark Spitz, obviously, but Mark stopped after the Olympics, in which he won all of his golds. Here's Michael Phelps swimming into his late 20s, and I must say, I have to be confessional about this. When he lost that first race and finished 4th, I thought, is it all over? Because he just didn't look very good in the pool, for one thing.
I was there, and I was talking to Rowdy Gaines, and Rowdy said, I'll get a good indication of how he's going to swim by how he swims in this race. And it was a race I didn't think he wanted to be in the pool. When he walked in, I just didn't think he was excited, wanted to be there, and I got the feeling Lochte wanted to be there, wanted to have his moment. And, as we found out, there was a little bit more to Phelps than we thought after that first day.
Well, he did. He did suck it up. He's extraordinarily competitive, obviously. I mean, you remember back to Beijing when he'd be standing at the end of the pool in the relay races and doing his best imitation of Tarzan, trying to bring everybody to the end of the pool in first place. No one can fully understand the commitment that these especially the Olympic gold medalists, make in their lives, the commitment to the training and the technique, the hours that they put in, what their families go through. It really is. I saw Missy Franklin and her parents after the games were over, and I said to her mother, look, as a parent, I just can't imagine how proud you must be, but what you need to know is how impressive she is out of the pool as well as in the pool. And I think that makes a complete Olympian.
You're right. I got a chance to be around her parents and saw her, and she couldn't have been more adorable. There were so many great stories. Sometimes we get caught up in the headliners, but that's the beauty of the Olympics. Before I let you go, if there had been a terrorist attack, you're the special correspondent for NBC. Did you go over game plan with management there on what if?
Yeah, we did. We had a system in place. That's why I was around the IBC as much as I was. If something had happened, we knew what studio we'd go into. I appeared with you, and I was very pleased to be able to do that, to describe the role of the British Special Forces, the SAS, the Special Air Service, it's called. They date back to World War II. They were out there. I'm sure that they were in the park somewhere. We just didn't know it, and they were in the city. I did meet with the equivalent of their FBI and the equivalent of their CIA, and they told me that they had sent out messages to the various groups that they were concerned about. They literally sent messages to them, got in touch with them through whatever their sources are, and said, don't try anything. We're all over this. We'll be watching. We know where you are. And they were ready for it. Right after they got the Olympics were awarded to them, they had a terrible, terrible attack in the heart of London on the buses and tubes. Yep. More than 50 people were killed. So they've been preparing for this for a long time. And we would have gone on the air, and we were in constant touch with the appropriate authorities. They came out and briefed us from time to time, and they were all feeling pretty good about it. They credentialed something like 700,000 people who wore those tags like you and I wore.
Yeah.
That was their great nightmare. They thought they had a pretty good fix on who every one of these people were, but you never know, because then we could get, as you know, because of the credential we were wearing, we could get in and out of the park with some ease and go wherever we wanted to, and that was a big worry for them.
It was great to meet you, great to visit with you. We appreciate you joining us today, Tom.
Can I just tell you one more football story, because I know you're going to talk about Peyton?
Yeah.
I was at I'm a big Giants fan, so I went out to San Francisco for the championship. And I'm a big Eli fan. I've gotten to know him personally and other members of the family. I'd never met Peyton before. And I got back to the hotel, and I was completely jacked up about how well the Giants had done. And the doorman, where I spent a lot of time there, thought because I'm in San Francisco so much, I would have been bemoaning the fact that 49ers didn't do well. And he said, "Oh, we did." And I said, "No, wait a minute. I'm a Giants fan. I'm thrilled." I felt this big hand on my shoulder and turned around. It was Peyton, who'd been out for the game. And I said, "Can you believe they lose 4 in November and they're going to the Super Bowl?" And he looked at me, just shook his head, and I could almost see in his eyes, I'll meet my little brother there at some point.
You get that feeling it could happen this year.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Tom.
Anyhow, thanks a lot, Dan. It was a pleasure to be with you.
All right. Thank you, Tom.